Good morning and welcome to our rehearsal. Here we are in the middle of November and we've started as a choir to prepare some of our Christmas repertoire as we would ordinarily do at this time. Last week we had a lovely session via Zoom, bringing some of our favourites together. I'm going to do a bit of reinforcing of those this week, but also introduce a couple of new things as well. May I invite you please to stand up? Let's start with a stretch. Stretching tall to the ceiling. Just focusing on your breathing. Bringing your arms down slowly. Let yourself collapse down with those heavy heads and those heavy arms. And gradually uncurl for me. Stretching tall to the ceiling once again, to tiptoes if that's comfortable for you. Bring the arms down slowly. And just have a little shake out. Just lose any tensions that are there. This time I'd like you to do some sirening, so something like this vocally. In your very much at your discretion how you do that, but as you do, if you could massage the parts of your head and neck and things that you see me doing. So sirening, off we go. Keep the sirening going. Eyebrows. The bridge of your nose. The cheeks, keep those sirens going. Your temples. Let's work to the neck. Let's just relax that. Let's just give ourselves, our shoulders a massage. Keep that sirening going. Let's just raise our shoulders, keep those sirens going, and let's relax those shoulders. Let's just put our heads forward, so our neck's almost touching our chest. And now let's just raise that up and be beautifully centered. I'm going to give you a B flat major chord first of all. We'll do a little bit of vocal warm-up, and then I'm going to try and get you thinking a little bit musically as well. So singing up the interval of a perfect fifth from the B flat up to the F, back down to the B flat. So something like this with Z's and Z's and lots of energy on the Z. Z, za, Z. Your turn. And then I'm going to go up in semitones, my turn. Z, za, Z. Your turn. Keep going up, keep going. Z's on Z, another. Z's on Z, on your own. To get a little bit higher, we've reached F major now, so taking us to C, above middle C. When you get to the top note, I'd like you just to do something like that. So we have a wonderfully open and confident sound. Let's go back down a tone from the F major, which takes us to E flat major. So Z, za, Z, and lots of space. 1 and 2. Z, za, don't be bashful. Z, za, Z. Z, za, Z. Z, za, Z. 2 more stages. I'm now going to give you a chord of F major, which is this. I'd like you to hum any note from that chord for me. Another note from the same chord. Don't just match my top note, be really listening to the individual notes in the notes as well. Another note from the same chord. Let's slide down from there. right into your boots. So if you're on that note, you might go, and then we're going to go back to the note that you chose. So sliding down from the note you're on and back up to the note you're on. Stick with that note. Let's now go down a semitone. Hopefully it's going to match this. You change. Hopefully you matched me there. Stick with that note. Go down another semitone. Hopefully you matched me there. Down another semitone. Hopefully you matched me there. Let's go up a semitone. Let's go up a tone now, which takes us back to where we started. We're going to start with O Tannenbaum, which is a very well known, of course, German carol. We looked at this last week, and it's a carol that as a choir we've had in our repertoire for a little while. We're going to explore the second and the third verses this week, in addition to verse 1. I'll start with the text of verse 1. I think I'm very keen, as most of you will know this word, this text already, that we go straight in with the text today. So, O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. So, O Christmas tree, how green are your leaves? Do say the words after me. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit, nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. I'll break that down into smaller groups. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit. That's the TS sound of that Z. Nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. So, du grünst nicht nur, you are not only green zur Sommerzeit, in summertime. No, nein, auch im Winter, also in winter, wenn es schneit, when it snows. Will we have a snowy winter this year? Who knows yet? So, we're in a 4-part harmony here. As we did in our rehearsal last week, I'm going to start with the bass line and sort of work our way up. Please work at your notation reading, and let's read all those lines together. So our bass line, let's read it together, and I will sing with you. 1 and 2 and O Tannenbaum, breath. O Tannenbaum, no breath, wie grün sind deine Blätter. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit, nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. So we're breathing after the first Christmas tree, after the first Tannenbaum, and then we will go through. If you think you've got that, keep coming with me, and but if you're not, just rewind and revisit that. The tenor line starts on the C. Do clock the very subtle differences between the first assertion of O Tannenbaum and when it comes again at the end of the carol. Tenor line 2 and O Tannenbaum, breath. O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommer. I'll just stop at that point. I had a little gremlin there, didn't I? It should go down on the nur, so well done if you spotted it. Du grünst nicht. Here we go. 2 and Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit, nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. As before, move on if you think you've nailed that tenors. Here's the alto line. 2 and O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit, Zeit, nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. And there's a lovely chromatic line there. We worked with semitones and tones in our warm-up. That's all going up in semitones there, altos. Okay, and then the soprano line. I won't use my falsetto for this one. Here we go. Soprano, the melody. 2 and O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. Du grünst nicht nur zur Sommerzeit, nein, auch im Winter, wenn es schneit. O Tannenbaum, wie grün sind deine Blätter. Now it's absolutely strophic, this carol. Verses 2 and 3 are to the same music that we've had for verse 1 as well. So verse 2, O Tannenbaum, du kannst mir sehr gefallen. So say after me, du kannst mir sehr gefallen. Okay, so with the rolled R's and make the double consonants work for me. So you can please me a great deal. Du kannst mir sehr gefallen. Wie oft hat mich zur Weihnachtszeit. Oh, I feel I may have got some words in a muddle there. Let's just say it one more time. Wie oft hat mich zur Weihnachtszeit ein Baum von dir mich hoch erfreut? So how often, wie oft, have you at Christmas time a tree? How has a tree from you sort of made me high and cheerful? O Tannenbaum. Then same repetition of text. Let's just do that middle line again. Wie oft hat mich zur Weihnachtszeit ein Baum von dir mich hoch erfreut. Okay, and verse 3. O Tannenbaum, dein Kleid will mich was lehren. Okay, the idea is sort of Kleid, sort of clothing, your sort of skirt, I guess the leaves of the tree will teach me something. Die Hoffnung und Beständigkeit. So that's the hope and understanding. Gibt, Trost und Kraft zu jeder Zeit. So the Gibt, Trost und Kraft gives sort of consolation and strength zu jeder Zeit, to every time. So we've got the text. Let's sing together verses 2 and 3 with my singing the text with you as well. Verses 2 and 3, and in our 4-part harmony, please. 1 and 2 and O Tannenbaum, du kannst mir sehr gefallen. Wie oft hat mich zur Weihnachtszeit ein Baum von dir mich hoch erfreut. O Tannenbaum, du kannst mir sehr gefallen. Verse 3. O Tannenbaum, dein Kleid will mich was lehren. Die Hoffnung und Beständigkeit, gibt Trost und Kraft zu jeder Zeit. O Tannenbaum, dein Kleid will mich was lehren. Some carols are just sort of perfection in their unadulterated form, and for me that really is just one of those. I had a very special holiday in the Alps, in the Austrian Alps, about 5 years or so ago, and in this particular village, I think it was called Mauendorf, something like that. A young curate had penned the words for Stille Nacht, silent night, and while I was there, it was the period just after Christmas. Every day, I just was feeling particularly devout that year. I went to the mass at the village church, and they finished every one of their Christmas services with Stille Nacht being sung as a sort of a piece of exit music, really, just unaccompanied. The congregation singing it in unison, and it was a very, very, very special. I often talk with you about music in context, often, and in a good context, taking on a very special guise, and that certainly was one of those moments for me. We move on now to our Holly and the Ivy. Again, this is not the most well-known version, but it's well-known to us as a choir. This is a fabulous version by John Gardner, really quirky, fabulous when we're in chorus together. We are going to have a little look at a descant, first of all, which goes over the top of verse 5, over the top of verse 6, should I say, over the top of verse 6. Now, this will be a soprano and alto descant when we put this together, and it's pretty high, and it goes like this, sopranos. The holly bears the crown. I'll do that again. The holly bears the crown. Here we go, sopranos. 1, 2, 1. The holly bears the crown. And altos at that moment, you have this. The holly bears the crown. Slightly more for you to remember, altos, slightly more notes. I'll do it once again, altos. The holly bears the crown. Here we go, altos. 1, 2, 1. The holly bears the crown. So if I play those together, just listen to the individual lines. Hopefully you'll hear your line within the two. Let's put that together. Starting note for the altos. Starting note for sopranos. 1, 2, 1. Now, regular members who are listening to this recording, do just sing along with that as well, just for the sort of mental and vocal stimulation. One more time. 1, 2, 1. And now, the next phrase you will recognise. The rising of the sun. It's exactly the same as the other choruses. Here we go, sopranos and altos. 1 and 2 and... Okay, now, when we are singing that at the end of verse 6, you'll remember that we've got a canon going on. So one voice goes, another voice goes like that, and that then provides a fourth layer of sound, which is quite exciting. So let's try sopranos and altos in the learning of this descant. I'm going to play, and then you're going to come in. So you're going to hear, and then you're in. All right, so my turn, 3 of those, then you're in. The rising of the sun. And then sopranos, when you get to that top note, you're just going to hold a long sustained note. The rising of the sun. All right, here we go, sopranos with that long sun. That's our pulse, that's our minim, and you're on that note for three beats. 1, 2, the rising of the sun. And then altos, you come down with the and the running of the deer. Listen to that again. And the running of the deer. All right, here we go, altos, and the running of the deer. 1, 2, and the running of the deer. Okay, let's have altos from the rising of the sun. 1 and 2, and the rising of the sun, and the running of the deer. And sopranos. Once you've had your long sun, which we've worked already, you then move off with this. And the running of the deer, and the running of the deer. All right, so if I put that together with what precedes it, the rising of the sun, and the running of the deer. All right, here we go. Let's try that, sopranos. 1 and 2, and the rising of the sun, and the running of the deer. All right, and then sopranos, your sweet singing in the choir is almost as you know it already if you know the verse. And it goes, sweet singing in the choir, sweet singing in the choir. All right, let's try that, sopranos. And 1 and 2. Sweet singing in the choir. And altos, your sweet singing in the choir is sweet singing in the choir. 1 and 2. Sweet singing in the choir. Let's put that together, the sweet singing. And 1 and 2. So you meet at the unison, altos and sopranos, on that second note of sweet. Once again, and 1 and 2. Now, sopranos and altos, I'm going to play from the rising of the sun all the way to the end of verse 6's refrain. Just listen to it, join in if you've already nailed it, but repeat as much as you need to make sure that you are secure with this, because the tenors and basses are starting to clock watch. Okay, so I'm going to play both those parts. I'm going to sing with the sopranos, then I will play both those parts, and then I will sing with the altos. 1 and 2, and the rising of the sun, and the running of the deer, sweet singing in the choir. I now sing with the altos. 1 and 2, and the rising of the sun, and the running of the deer, sweet singing in the choir. Okay, so whistle stop, that's our first introduction of that descant. I very much hope we might get the chance to add that on top of our usual singing at some point this year. Okay, so back to the beginning. You'll notice now that we're not in the key we were just in, but we're now in G major, down a tone from where we started. My turn, your turn. Listen very carefully to the way I phrase the words, and also to the note length as well. It's subtly different for the middle 2 verses of the carol. My turn, your turn. The holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown. Your turn. Of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. Of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer. Your turn. organ, sweet singing in the choir. One and the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. It's very easy to not sing choir as a long note, but we will sing that longer note. Choir. Oh, verse 2, the holly bears a blossom. We'll sing it straight out. The rhythm is as it was in verse 1. And 1 and the holly bears a blossom as white as the lily flower. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to be our sweet Saviour. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. And then he modulates, takes us up the semitone. Here's verse 3, subtly different rhythm. The holly bears a berry as red as any blood. Your turn. 1 and my turn. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to do poor sinners good. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to do poor sinners good. And there's the regularity of rhythm there, not bum ba bum bum ba dum, but bum 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 ba dum. Same rhythm for verse 4. Here we go. The holly bears a prickle. Let's make those words prickly. And 1 and the holly bears a prickle as sharp as any thorn. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn. And then off we go into our refrain. And then finally verse 5. Up another semitone. My turn, your turn. The holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall. We've got an even more intense sort of walking bass feel going through this verse. Here we go. The holly bears a bark, and it's a big bark. And 1 and the holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn. Oh, did I muddle up my words? I think I did. It was for to redeem us all. We've had Christmas Day in the morn. Let's do verse 5 again. Apologies. The holly bears a bark. And 1 and the holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ for to redeem us all. And then our refrain to the end. If you feel able to add that chorus that we learnt right at the beginning, the descant. Do give it a go. I will add it on. Other than that, let's sing this through as a unison carol. Do stand if you've already sat down. I don't think I invited you to sit earlier, so who knows where you are. You might be in the bath by now. Who knows? The holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. The holly bears a blossom as white as the lily flower. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to be our sweet Saviour. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. The holly bears a berry as red as any blood. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ to do poor sinners good. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. Here we go. The holly bears a prickle as sharp as any thorn. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ on Christmas Day in the morn. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. The holly bears a bark as bitter as any gall. And Mary bore sweet Jesus Christ for to redeem us all. The rising of the sun, the running of the deer, the playing some of you might have been brave to add that little descant right at the end. Can't wait to be able to put that together. So we close with a fabulous standard from the late 1940s, from what 1947, and Almost Like Being in Love. Like so many songs from this era, you will know countless versions like this. And as we've done in previous weeks, we're kind of taking the starting point of the music that the songwriters have put down. And it's always really interesting how these cover versions evolve. But sometimes very lovely to hear the sort of original version as well. So, my turn, your turn. Maybe the sun gave me the power. Your turn. But I could swim Loch Lomond and be home in half an hour. And then we have a lovely change of harmony. Maybe the egg gave me the drive. For I'm all aglow and alive. Your turn. So very much everything based on this, on that sort of sequence, and then modulating as well up to that sort of up that fourth. Okay, my turn, your turn. Once again. Maybe the sun gave me the power. Your turn. But I could swim Loch Lomond and be home in half an hour. Maybe the egg gave me the drive. For I'm all aglow and alive. Your turn. So often with these songs, the sort of verses, the little intros are little known. The chorus can often be extremely well known. Let's have that opening now, singing along with me, and then we'll do it one more time with my just playing the piano. Maybe the sun. 3, 4. Maybe the sun gave me the power, but I could swim Loch Lomond and be home in half an hour. Maybe the egg gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. If you're feeling very keen there, sopranos, you can go and alive. I leave that to you. Here we go, you're on your own. Maybe the sun. 3 and 4. We're going to do a fairly mellow version, but the words are quite glorious, of course. Something along this sort of tempo, and it will be fast in that intro. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. I'll do it with a slight sort of swing, sort of shuffly feel underneath. Here we go. My turn, your turn. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Your turn. Why, it's almost like being in being in love. And you got that lovely silence before the almost. Why, it's almost like being. Let's do that once with a little clap in the silence. 1, 2, 1. Why, it's almost like being in love. My turn. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Your turn, you'll go. And as before, with that little silence, why, it's almost like being in love. Your turn. When it gets a little bit more interesting, more harmonically. All the music of life seems to be. It suddenly goes into brighter keys. All the music of life. Your turn. All the music of life seems to be. My turn. Like a bell that is ringing for me. Your turn. Ringing for me. That second note of ringing is quite a long way down. Let's go back to like a bell that is ringing. And 1. Like a bell that is ringing for me. And we can really open out, and the piano sort of has a bell-like sort of thing going on whilst you're singing that. And then, and from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal. Your turn. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal. My turn. I would swear I was falling. Your turn. And then a quicker I could swear I was falling. Your turn. And then it's almost like being in love. Your turn. It's almost like being in love. Let's take from the middle 8 all the music of life to the end. Here we go, all the music. 1, 2, 1. All the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling. I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love. And then we go back to the beginning of the chorus again. When we do the repeat, I might leave you on your own devices a little bit. There's some lovely little sort of link passages and sort of colours going on as well, which we'll try and bring through. So here's a little intro. Almost like being in love. Maybe the sun gave me the plan, but I could swim off Poland and be home in half an hour. Maybe the air gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. Thank you for joining us once again for another Dacorum Community Choir at Home session. I hope you've enjoyed singing with us. I hope this is a useful resource for our regular members. And I very much look forward to seeing you at our next rehearsal. Goodbye.